Episode 6. They're just being teenagers. Nobody sets out to become an addict at 19. I certainly didn't. At that age, you are invincible. You know everything. The adults in your life, the ones waving red flags and clearing their throats and giving you that look, they don't understand. They never did. You are different. You are smarter. You are just having fun. Everyone does this. It's not a problem. You don't have a problem. That is the voice of the young addict, and it sounds exactly like every other teenager on the planet, which is precisely why it's so easy to miss. I want to talk to all parents today, not to the young people. They won't listen. I know because I was one of them. I want to talk to the mothers and fathers and step-parents and grandparents and older siblings and teachers and coaches who are watching someone they love and wondering if what they're seeing is normal teenage behavior or something more dangerous. Because that line, the one between normal adolescent experimentation and early addiction, is thinner than you think. And by the time it becomes obvious, the window for easy intervention has usually already closed. Let me tell you how it started for me. My father was a military man. Disciplined, structured, authoritarian. He ran our household the way he ran everything else, with rules, expectations, and consequences. What he didn't do was sit down with me and talk. Not about the things that mattered, not about the confusion and the pain and the questions that were piling up inside a teenager who had no idea how to process any of it. He didn't have to be a guru or a therapist. He just had to be present. He just had to ask. But that's not what I got. And so I carried everything alone, the anger, the confusion, the hurt, with no safe place to put any of it. School was its own war zone. I was bullied mercilessly, severe acne, hearing loss, clothes that weren't the right brands. In the brutal social economy of adolescence, I was at the bottom. Every day was an exercise in survival. Head down, get through it. Don't let them see it land. Kids can be extraordinarily cruel, and the wounds they inflict at that age go deeper than most adults realize. The embarrassment, the isolation, the corrosive belief that something is fundamentally wrong with you and everyone can see it. And then I found my people. They weren't the honor students or the athletes or the kids with the right clothes. They were the ones on the edges, the ones who stayed out late and didn't ask too many questions and accepted you exactly as you were. For the first time in my life, I belonged somewhere. I was wanted. I was included. I mattered. The price of admission was substances, and I paid it gladly. This is what parents need to understand about the young addict. They are almost never looking for drugs or alcohol specifically. They are looking for belonging, for relief, for one place in the world where the pain stops for a little while. Substances just happen to be the most efficient delivery system for all those things. They work fast, they work reliably, and they ask nothing of you in return. At 19, that is an almost irresistible proposition. The warning signs are there. They are always there, but they are easy to explain away. And the young person in question will help you explain them away with every tool at their disposal. Grades slipping, stress, sleeping too much. They're teenagers, new friends you don't recognize. They need their independence. Secretive, defensive, irritable. Hormones. And on it goes, each red flag neatly filed under normal until the picture is too big to ignore. According to research as recently as 2024, there are approximately 25 million Americans struggling with alcoholism and another 25 million addicted to narcotics. 50 million people. That is not a fringe problem. That is 1 in 6 Americans. It is in every neighborhood, every school, every family. And for most of them, the road to addiction began exactly where mine did. Young, confused, in pain, and looking for somewhere to belong. By the time I was mandated by a court to attend AA meetings following my first DUI, I was already well down the road. I sat in those rooms with a card that needed a signature and a mind that was completely closed to everything being said around me. The meetings weren't the problem. The meetings were full of wisdom and honesty, and people understood exactly what I was going through. The problem was me. I didn't think I was an addict. I had just gotten caught. There is a world of difference between those two things. Those rooms are full of vulnerable people. Everyone in those chairs has already shown their wounds just by walking through the door. For someone in genuine recovery, that vulnerability becomes strength. But I was not yet in genuine recovery, and I am not proud to admit that I sometimes moved through those rooms with the instincts of someone still very much in the grip of addiction, gravitating toward other young people on the periphery, the ones who were silent or only superficially sharing, looking for a co-conspirator rather than a companion in recovery, someone to slip away with, someone who wasn't ready either. Even in a room full of hope, the addict's instinct to manipulate and exploit doesn't simply switch off overnight. I knew it was wrong. I did it anyway. That is the nature of the disease at that stage. You can see the line clearly and step over it without hesitation. Oregon, to their credit, had some teeth in their mandated recovery program, random breathalyzer checks at meetings, real consequences for non-compliance. I remember one meeting where I was randomly selected to blow. I had brushed my teeth and used mouthwash before arriving, genuinely trying to present well, genuinely making some small positive gains. What I didn't know was that mouthwash contains alcohol. It took considerable convincing for the monitors to accept my explanation and allow me to stay. It was one of the most frightening moments of my young life, and I had done nothing wrong. The system was imperfect, but it had consequences. Consequences I had learned from my father, if nothing else, was something to take seriously. Still, I relapsed, relatively quickly. The fear faded, the ego reasserted itself, and my friends were waiting. I wasn't an addict. I had just gotten caught, and life went on. And yet, in that same room, in those same chairs, there was a tiny woman in her late 70s, small enough that she barely filled her seat. She wasn't a gifted orator. She didn't have polished stories or rehearsed delivery. What she had was something far more powerful, decades of hard-won survival and the willingness to share it without vanity or pretense. When she spoke, the room went quiet. Not because of how she said things, but because of the weight behind them. She had been where I was. She had felt what I felt. And she had come out the other side with her dignity intact and her eyes clear and her life genuinely her own. I found myself gravitating toward her too, not for anything I could take, just to listen, just to be near someone whose life was living proof that the other side existed. That contrast, the young woman I was trying to lead astray in the parking lot, and the old woman whose quiet words were planting seeds I didn't even know were taking root. That was early recovery. Not clean, not linear, not the inspirational montage. Just a damaged young person with one foot moving toward the light and one foot still firmly in the dark, trying to find solid ground in a hurricane. Here is what I wish someone had told my father. Not a lecture, not a list of warning signs printed from a website, just this is true, your child needs a connection with you more than they need your rules. They need to know that home is a safe place to bring their pain. They need to know that you will not shatter if they tell you something hard. The authoritarian parent produces compliant children and secretly suffering ones. The connected parent produces children who come home when things go wrong, instead of running toward whatever will make the pain stop fastest. You don't have to be perfect. You don't have to have all the answers. You just must show up, really show up, and ask the questions that matter. How are you really doing? What's hard right now? I'm here and I'm not going anywhere. Those words, spoken consistently and genuinely, are more powerful than any intervention, any court order, any breathalyzer. They might even be more powerful than the addiction itself. If you are a young person listening to this and something here is landing, please hear this too. What you are feeling is real. The pain is real. The need to belong is real. You are not broken. You are not weak. You are human. And there are rooms full of people who have felt exactly what you are feeling and found their way through it without losing everything first. You don't have to wait for rock bottom. Rock bottom is not a destination anyone should have to visit. I know, because I've been there. More than once. If you or someone you know is struggling with addiction or a mental health crisis, help is available 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. Call or text 988 to reach the Suicide and Crisis Lifeline. You are not alone.